comment on this motion and this committee report. Mr. Speaker, this is an extremely important report because the two things that are killing this country, whether we like it or not, is corruption and tribalism. And this is addressing that. It is therefore important that we actually move meaningfully, sincerely, to address the issue of fighting corruption. Mr. Speaker, the use of proceeds of corruption is an extremely important factor in fighting corruption. When people make huge monies and they use them and live extravagantly, exposing our youth to what seems like a good life, but these are proceeds of crime. They pervert the thinking of our youth. They pervert the morals of our society. So it's extremely important that the proceeds of crime are addressed. And therefore this is an important report. Of late, Mr. Speaker, you have seen EACC is doing a good job in recovery. And therefore, the agency that is dealing with this proceeds, funds, buildings that are recovered needs to be strengthened. And therefore, this report is extremely important. But Mr. Speaker, one more time, we are dealing with an important thing casually. Look at this report. This report, its observations are contrary to its recommendations. If you look at the observations on page 13, the committee observations, the only area that the committee actually comes out strongly that the report is okay is in regard to public participation. I think paragraph 20 under 3.1, the public 3.2, the public participation was done well. In 22, there is evidence that what is done well. In 23, the same. When you come to the regulatory impact, the report itself acknowledges that there was need for an impact. And they acknowledge that that impact was not done. And then takes refuge in exemption within the law. Surely, even if the law gives you an exemption, you should do the job you should do. So that the report notes under 3.324, pursuant to provisions of section 5A2, the Statutory Instruments Act 2013, an impact assessment has not been prepared for these statutory instruments as it falls within the exemptions provided under section 9. I think it's good, but I would have said get the impact report. When there is an exemption, it doesn't say you shouldn't. You should. But then you will say, because the exemption does not stop you. I'll put my argument.
What's your point of order, the Honorable MP Murata?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, when there is an exemption, it means there is no burden placed on you to do that particular act. There would be no reasonable man who would place a burden on himself or herself to do that which you have been exempted from doing. That obligation is taken away. Therefore, why would we belabor to say, in spite of the exemption, we should have done A, B, C, D, E? Absolutely out of normalcy. It's not normal to do that. And I'm informing Honorable Nyikala.
Mr. Speaker, exactly my point. If it was so, the committee would not have even bothered to raise it. If the committee has raised it that it wasn't done, the committee itself, Mr. Speaker, has shown some concern and therefore can now take refuge under the exemption. We are dealing with extremely important matters. Mr. Speaker, if you go 3.425, the committee then notes that an error observed in Regulation 4 seemed to be amending the parent act by the use of the words in addition, which means it was putting more than in the parent act. Then the committee says, okay, we can accept that, it will be corrected in the corrigendum. We are not sure, we don't even have that corrigendum here. Mr. Speaker, if you then go to 26, under Regulation 5, the committee observed that the sub-regulation B and C were providing for administration money for the agency, which is actually the main thing there. A fact that the regulation-making authority acknowledged and undertook to correct by way of corrigendum. Mr. Speaker, I would plead with you to give me more time, because this is extremely important. Having said all that,
I have given you 2 more minutes.
Having said and done that, the committee then goes ahead to actually then recommend that you accept the report, the regulations. Mr. Speaker, we have been faced, this House, its integrity has been put to question because it has passed laws that have gone to courts, and the courts have actually said that those laws are not constitutional. Who else other than this parliament, with all its capacities, must know that the laws are not constitutional before they are passed? Mr. Speaker, we must check the speed with which we are doing things in this House. It may be possible to do that. I don't want the embarrassment of one more time passing something that people will go to court. I would have said that the committee would have got back and said, correct these regulations, bring them back when everything is in order. Where there is exemption, don't mention the exemption. Don't raise our suspicion, those of us who are not lawyers. With that, Mr. Speaker, I oppose the adoption of this report.
I can see there is a very limited interest in this, except now I have the women rep for Nandi, Cynthia Muge. Yes? You wish to weigh in on this? Okay, you'll have an opportunity.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to add my voice on this report from the Committee on Delegated Legislation on the issue of Asset Recovery Fund. Honorable Speaker,